Hello everybody, this is Alan Robertson, Bob White Vines. Today we're going to do a little project in the vineyard where we're going to put in a second wire, a second fruiting wire in our vineyard. We've got about 5 rows of Itasca. We're going to add a second wire too. What we're putting into place here is what they call a modified Scott Henry, and I'm going to flip the camera around and show you what I mean by that. So this is in our Chamberson rows. And what we have here in the Chamberson rows is we have our standard top wire, because we use high wire trellis system here, and we've added a second fruiting wire in about 85% of our vineyard. Now typically with standard high wire, what you have is you have on a vine, and here's our Chamberson, we have a right and a left cordon, and we're fruiting off of both of these cordons. And the concept of adding the second wire in terms of a modified Scott Henry is, if you look at this vine here, we've got a new fruiting wire, a new arm that we're starting here, and we're starting here. And what we're going to be able to do and have done this year is, instead of having a single fruiting zone on the right here and a single fruiting zone on the other side here, we have double fruiting zones on each side of the vine. So we have 2 sets of cordons that they will get fruiting spurs off of. So I've got our tractor set up over here in our Itasca, and I will jump over there and we'll take a look at those. Okay, so here we are in the Itasca, and in our post we've drilled a second hole. Here's our top wire. We've drilled a second hole through our posts, and all the way down the row, all the way to the end, you can see our side-by-side sitting down there with our spinning Jenny in it. And Cindy has brung a wire up here for our second wire, and we're going to bring it up here to our end post, and Cindy's working on terminating, and we're going to put a strainer on our second wire, just like what we have here, so that we can adjust the tension on that wire. So again, our concept here is to put in double fruiting wires, and this is called a modified Scott Henry. And as we get this set up, we'll come back, and our next step here will be on stretching this wire, and we'll show you that. I want to show you what we're putting on here. We're attaching the strainer. So what we've done is we've just created a loop of 12.5 high tensile. We've got a couple of crimping sleeves right here. We'll be crimping those, and then we'll be cutting off our excess wire here. Come around on the loop. Cindy's got a hold of the strainer, and then we'll be attaching our second wire to the strainer in a moment. We're certainly going to want to stretch it, but I wanted to show you this before we move to the stretching section. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this up, crimp this, and get this in position, and then I'll walk you through how we stretch wire here in the vineyard. And there's our $40,000 wire stretcher. All right, so we're back now, and we've got that cramped, and we've got our strainer bent here the way we need it, and it'll be ready to go. I want to take a minute and explain to you how we stretch our wire here at the vineyard. So this was my ingenious idea. I will take credit for the good ones, won't take credit for the bad ones. But what I've got here is I've just got a simple pin. I've got some aircraft cable here, and I hook that into the front of my loader. Again, of our $50,000 or $40,000 wire stretcher here. So this cable runs along at the other end. I've got the wire clip here. and this thing works on tension. So we will, as soon as my lovely wife has this all tied off at the other end down here, we'll clip our wire into here. We'll put tension on it, and then I'll just put the tractor in granny mode, and I'll show you how we use the rear exterior controls on this tractor to actually put a nice stretch on this wire, and we'll get her done that way. So stay tuned for some more. So our John Deere 4052R is set up with Fender Controls. Very nice option that John Deere has. It's wonderful for use when you're trying to back up to a piece of equipment and you're trying to do hooking on to your 3-point. And we certainly do use it for that, but there's another way that we also use it. Once I have the cab properly engaged according to the manual and the instructions, these become active, and I can operate the tractor at a very slow rate, very safely exterior from the cab, and I'll explain to you why that's important when we're stretching. If you look over here, what I have done now is here's that cable I showed earlier, and I'm attached to the wire, and we're going to stretch this wire, and Cindy's at the north end down here, and I'm really waiting for her to give me the signal that she has completely cut the other end of the wire and attached it securely at the other end post. And as soon as she does that, I'll be getting in the tractor. We'll fire this up, and then we'll slowly back up the tractor and tighten this wire. So here we are, we're in the cab of the tractor. First step is to the tractor running. We're in low idle, and the second step is we want to put this down. Sorry about that. I want to put this down in our lowest gear range. So we're in lowest gear range. We're going to set the parking brake. We'll look up here and we see the parking brake is flashing. We're in low idle. And then I'm going to reach up here onto the dash, and I'm going to engage. And then we'll see the emergency flashers begin to flash, and we'll look here on the dash and we'll say hitch on. Well, now we're ready to operate the tractor safely from our Fender Controls and be able to stretch this wire. So here we are. So to engage this is essentially a safety switch. You'll hear it beeping in reverse, and then I'll engage. Now our tractor's backing up, and I'll switch around now and show you what that looks like as we're stretching the wire. So we're stretching the wire. I don't know if you can notice that. You see the wire beginning to pull. Again, there's our $48,000 wire stretcher. Cindy's at the controls back there, and I think we're getting close. So we've got a nice tight wire here. This looks really good. We're still hooked off here. I'm not ready to engage it to the strainer just yet. Cindy's gonna do what we always do, and that is walk the wire all the way down the row. Want to make sure that we're nice and tight, nice and straight. We're not caught on a vine before we tie it off. Okay, so Cindy's giving me the okay. So I've got the wire nice and tight, and we're ready to make the connection. I'm on a camera. So here we go. I've got the end of the wire. I've got it cut. Put a nice little kink on that. I hope you can see that. Just put a nice little bend in the end of it there. And what we'll do is we're going to hook that into the strainer, and then we'll put just a little bit of tightening on that, and put a couple of loops around there, and then we will push the tractor forward, take our tension off there and take our stretcher off the wire, and that'll conclude this second wire installation. We'll be ready to move on to the next row. Okay, so we've got the wire. Hope you can hear me over the wind, and hope you can see me. We've got the wire started in the strainer, and Cindy's going to give that a couple of cranks. Bring that on around. There we go. We're going to make sure we're positioned okay on the posts. Need to come up just a little. There you go. It's always an adventure every day here at the Vineyard. You never know what we're going to get into. You never know what the weather's going to be like. Today, the good Lord decided to turn the fan on. We got good sunshine, but we're blowing pretty good. That ought to do it. And then from here, we should be able to creep the tractor forward. Cindy, if you want to walk around and creep the tractor forward, I'll show the folks at home what happens next. So she's going to creep the tractor forward. That's going to relieve the tension here. And then once the tension comes off of this stretcher, we're watching for our tension to come off here. This will drop away. I can reach up. And I take the stretcher away. And voila! Bob's your uncle. There's the second fruiting wire, and that's how we get her done at the Bob White Vines Vineyard. And that's how we put in the modified Scott Henry trellis system that we love and use here every day. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it to be informative. Take care.